There, Cozy Babe, and welcome back to the coziest corner of the internet. My name is Chloe Taylor, and today we are talking about everything I do to get myself back into believing in myself and my dreams again. Because this topic for me has been years in the making. Because many of y'all know, we'll talk about the lore ever so slightly, but many of y'all know I have been through a time, and I feel like the realm of like manifestation and believing that you will receive and all of this stuff, it like really had this like big bubble burst. And I was there, okay? I was there, boots on the ground, when manifestation content really blew up. I was there making videos. I was there making the content, talking about talking to your spirit guides, getting into the spiritual, esoteric nature of the law of attraction and all the different universal laws, right? And then I went through some shit. And as it turns out, when you go through some shit, it sometimes can kind of turn that faucet off. And I think this is like a very relevant topic for right now because I know that I am not alone. And I know that there must be other people that have been through this experience. It's something that I wasn't ready to speak on in the past because I don't feel like I had really fully come through the other side of it. And I feel like I am just now starting to get to this place. Hello, Scorpio new moon. The Scorpio new moon really came through for me, okay? We'll talk about that in a second as well. But I just really feel like there is no content on this out there of people that really believed in manifestation, saw a bunch of stuff come true in their life, had a bunch of bad things happen, and then like basically kind of lost their faith in all of the ideology. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what I do when I need to get back to believing in myself again and believing that I'm worthy of being able to receive the things that I dream about. So I think this is going to be great because it also takes you from like bed rotting all the way forward. And I'm going to give you real, practical, tangible tips that you can do. So let's get into it, shall we? First and foremost, I feel like I can't really talk about this stuff without talking slightly about the lore. So, keep it brief, in 2021, I had a series of panic attacks. It was a massive mental health crisis. I have never had my mental health break down in such an intense way at any other time in my life. I'd been through bouts of depression. I had dealt with a lot of social anxiety in my life at that time. And this wave of mental health crumbling brought on generalized anxiety, which I feel like I might have had a little bit, but this was like a whole new level of extreme. Something I don't hear enough people talk about is when you struggle with panic attacks or panic disorder, you get to a place sometimes where you fear panicking. And that will send you into a panic attack, just being afraid that it will happen again. And when this happened, I was deep in my Saturn return. Okay. I am always going to horoscopium everything in my life. If you don't think the stars are just a reflection, right? So as above, so below. And if I'm taking my own natal chart into consideration, I was in my Saturn return at this time, and I have Saturn in the third house, which does connect to the mind. Obviously, I don't feel like it's mental health, but I feel like my mind really went spiraling at this time. And I did not have the financial backing to put myself in therapy to get the help that I needed. So I was kind of left to my own devices to just like spiral and be in this difficult place and not really be able to claw my way out of it the way that I wished I had. But I learned a lot of really great coping skills. And now, at the present time, just as like an update, I'm in therapy for the first time consistently since those events took place. And like I'm insured, I'm able to go every single week. Me and my therapist are doing the hard work together. And I feel like mentally I am healthier than I have been in the last 4 years. So, that said, like I feel like I'm finally in a place where I'm like, oh, I can get back to that stuff. Because here's the thing, it is very hard, in my opinion, not impossible, but it is very hard to believe in manifestation, believe that you are worthy of your dreams, whatever you want to call it, when you are coming at it from a place of survival. And I'm not saying it's impossible. Many people have manifested what they desire out of places of survival. It happens every day. This is not me here to discourage you. I do feel like the odds are a little bit more stacked against you, though, and you need to kind of get to the root of those things first. I think you'll have an easier time because the thing is, it's all about what you believe, right? And we can talk about the psychology of this. We can talk about the metaphysics of this. I'm not just talking about some like woo woo spiritual shit, even though I'm really into that. This stuff is science. This stuff is science. This stuff is, we know, even if we want to take a psychological approach, if we grew up in households that were unstable or unsafe, we are going to believe certain things about ourselves and other people, right? If we grew up with a lack of trust with people, for example, a lot of us will grow up to continue to not trust people. A lot of us will grow up with anxious attachment, avoidant attachment. These are things that we can all work through. These are all things that can be worked through. It's not a life sentence, but your beliefs will continue to create that. It will create your habits, what you think of other people, the way you don't trust other people initially. Some of that also is intuition, and I'm not trying to knock that. Like sometimes there's good reason not to trust other people when your intuition's popping off and telling you not to. But some of it is just like at a baseline, we'll trust no one, right? And it's also a lack of trust with the self when we've been conditioned that way. So it also is psychology in the sense that we know that, right? We know that sometimes past things, past events, past things happen. We will bring that forward into our life. And this also comes down to our reticular activating system, which I talk about all the time, in the sense that in your mind, there is something called the reticular activating system. And this system, it scans your environment to confirm your beliefs. So if you believe that you can't trust anyone, that you're never getting your manifestations, that money is so hard to come by, that, you're never going to buy a home, that you're never going to, whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is that you're wanting, that you're never going to have those things. And this is just how it is. Your brain, in trying to support you, it scans your environment and basically gets rid of all the things that you don't really think about or believe. Because if it didn't do that, you would be overstimulated 24/7. I know with the rise of social media and technology, most of us are overstimulated a lot of the time. But just hear me out, okay? Just sit with me, Nancy, okay? Just be with me for a minute, vibe with me. Um, but it would lead us into this state of being overstimulated because we would be noticing every blade of grass, every car that drives by. It would be every little detail would be fed directly into us, and we would be overwhelmed continuously. So the reticular activating system does this beautiful thing where it kind of filters out the things that are either not important or they go against our belief system. So it thinks it's doing a good thing. We think it's doing a good thing for us. And in a great world where we're having our needs met and our manifestations are coming, this is a wonderful thing because it's like a confirmation bias of, oh, miracles are coming into my life. But if you have the confirmation bias that says you never receive what you want, this can be like a very detrimental thing. And we can, though, alter these things. We can alter these things. They are not dead set. Even if we look at like neural pathways in our mind, yes, we can have this pathway that is constantly trotted down. And so that gets like deeper in our mind and we constantly go over it. But we have neuroplasticity. Our brain has the ability to make new pathways and create new ideas, new belief systems. We know all of this is true. There is scientific proof and evidence to support this. I don't even feel like I want to get into the science and the psychology and the science of it. To be fair with you, doesn't really matter to me. I would rather like focus on like the things in my life that have happened, the proof of things. And if y'all want an episode of me like rehashing a bunch of my manifestation success stories from the past, I would really like to make that episode because I think it builds assurance in other people to hear other people talk about their success. If you're in a space where you're able to hold that, because sometimes if you're in a bad place and you hear about other people's success, it like pisses you off and triggers you. And it's an opportunity to sit with that trigger and ask yourself why you think you can't have it. But Some people don't realize that and they'll just get triggered by all the shit that you're saying. And it's like, you're bragging and blah, blah, blah. Again, Nancy, sit down, please, at the front of the class because we need you to listen more than anyone else. Okay, Stacy? Um, but the point is, I don't even necessarily care about all of the like science and psychology of it all. I just know for some people, if you know that information, it might be helpful to you to get you kind of on board with what I'm talking about. My point is this shit isn't just like, oh, it doesn't work for me. It works for some people. That's some nonsense. That's some hullabaloo. That's some woo woo. No, it's literally science and psychology and a little woo. It's kind of all of the above. But anyways, we're getting off track in ADHD fashion. The thing I'm trying to also talk about is I feel like I had gotten to this place where I was just like, fuck manifestation. Okay. Fuck manifestation. It doesn't work. I've manifested all these great things into my life and I've watched them all be ripped away from me violently. And I don't ever want to manifest anything ever again, was kind of the place that I had gotten to. Even like this year, I was still reeling in that of fuck manifestation. None of it works, even though I know because I have seen it work that like all of it actually does work. And I think the thing I maybe needed to be reminded of, and this might be good for somebody else to hear, is yeah, sometimes your manifestations do get taken away. Sometimes shit does get ripped away from you. And that could be for a myriad of reasons, and you may never know the reason why. You could have been being saved from something else. You could have also like maybe not learned the lesson that you needed to learn with receiving this thing, and maybe it's not the time, right? There are so many reasons why something doesn't work out, and we may never have the answer as to why. I'm the kind of person that I like to put a cute little bow on everything. I like to understand. I like to package shit up. You know, us as humans are pattern recognizing machines, and it makes sense that we would want to know the reason and the purpose why. And I was really lost in this, okay? I had my mental health get totally rolled to the point that like I don't even want to get too into that because it just I feel like I've healed from so much of it that like rehashing it doesn't really make me feel good, but there was a time period where it was just very dark. Just know that, okay? It was very dark for a time period, and I'm grateful that I am even still here today, if that tells you what I'm trying to say, okay? But I'm grateful that I'm still alive today. But that was really crazy. I also like moved into this home that I was so excited to move into. The entire experience of living there, minus like a few high notes, because there were some good times, was a very bad experience. The landlords were some of the worst I've ever lived under. It was an atrocious experience. I was constantly stressed out. I had so many panic attacks in that house. I was lonely and isolated because I lived in a tiny town with a small population. I tried making friends numerous times and it constantly fell through. It just, I was not my best self. And this was supposed to be, for me at the time, I was like, this is me supposedly living my dream life. I'm in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath waterfront home. I drive my dream car and I am so fucking empty and miserable. And this is not how I thought it would be at all. And I felt like I really couldn't afford the situation that I was in. I was constantly stressed about money. And I did like a road opener spell and then everything fell apart in a positive way though. Like everything fell apart and I lost the house, I lost my car eventually. I even would say that to some degree I lost my career. And I wouldn't say I lost it because I do feel like I've kind of evolved from it. And I read tarot cards for like 7 years. That was my whole bread and butter. I still do it on Patreon, which like follow my Patreon. I still do it on Patreon, but I don't do it in the way that I was professionally doing it before. And so I feel like even like my career kind of like went under. My views on the channel that I was running really plummeted, and that really affected my living. That affected my cost of living, right? So all of this stuff, like everything I felt like I had built, I felt like got dismantled. And that was really hard. I spent a lot of time floundering and being like, why did that have to happen? Why me? Boo me. Why me? Why did this have to happen? Why did I manifest all these wonderful things just to watch this happen? And why is it always me? Why can I never, all these like limiting beliefs showed up knocking on my door, and I just let all of them in willy fucking nilly. I let all of this bullshit into my life. And I got to this place where I wouldn't even say that I was depressed. Now we're kind of getting into present time. I wouldn't say that I am depressed. And trust me, I know depression. I know what it feels like. I know what it looks like. I know what the beginning stages of depression feel like, seasonal or otherwise. I would not say that I am currently experiencing depression. However, if I had continued to let my life move in the direction it was going, it eventually would have concaved into that. And I know that. So this is where things kind of shift. First of all, Scorpio season has been 300 years long. Okay. I know by the time you see this podcast, Scorpio season will be over, but Scorpio season has been like 300 years long. Does anybody else agree with me? Like, please tell me I'm not alone. Leave me a little scorpion emoji if Scorpio season has been a doozy or felt like forever for you. But Scorpio season for me, I'm a Sag rising. Y'all know this about me. Okay. Sag risings unite. But this is my 12th house. The 12th house is like enemies, self undoing, mental health. It's like all the shit that we don't really like looking at. And it's in Scorpio, which is already hidden, right? It's already the hidden place. It's where things that you fear exist. And which is so crazy because I think like one of my biggest fears in life is like going into like having bad mental health basically is like a really large fear for me. And it's like very aligned with my astrology. And obviously, the astrology can mean different things for different people. There's so much more in it. This is the Cliff Notes version. But for me, I feel like Scorpio season has been 300 years long. And it wasn't up until right around the Scorpio new moon that just happened that I feel like I finally am like, oh, this was actually such a good season. I needed all of this. And I'm feeling better and I have a pathway forward. And this is exactly what I did step by step to get back into feeling good. When this is what I had been doing, okay? Every day. Let me describe to you, like obviously not from the last like few weeks because y'all know we've been doing the 5 a.m. thing, but prior to that, this was my day-to-day life, okay? I would get up at like 5, make my spouse breakfast, go back to bed until sometimes 1 in the fucking afternoon. Don't get me wrong, if you're somebody that sleeps like that and you're happy with your schedule, I say good for you. Morning people honestly are overrated. But I am not my best self. I live where we get next to no sunlight in the winter. And if I am not awake with the day, I will become depressed. So can't be doing that. I would sleep until like 1 p.m., get up, and like the reason I didn't want to get up is because I felt like I had no purpose. I am somebody that is a very highly driven individual. If I have a goal, I will do everything in my power to meet that goal, whether it is doing the spiritual work of it, the alignment work of it, doing the physical work of it. If I really want something, I am the person that will spend weeks upon weeks upon weeks studying every person before me that has done the thing that I'm trying to do. And then I will implement new regimens. I will implement, like, I am that girly, okay? Always have been. I'm a very highly driven individual. But with the closing of my Chloe Taylor YouTube channel, I realized that like all of my drive was just gone. And I was like, I feel like I have no reason to get up. Like, and not in a depressed way, not in a I'm numb and nothing feels good, in a like, but why would I even get up? Like, I have nothing to go and do. Even though, like, I've still got my podcast, I've still got Patreon, I got friends to talk to, I've got groceries to shop for, meals to cook. Like, I've got things to do, but nothing that felt like it was as I didn't have like an internal goal that was driving me. And I rely on that, okay? I'm a fucking call me a horse, okay? Because I need the carrot on the end of the stick to drive me forward. I think a lot of us operate this way. I'm also a generator in human design, if that tells you anything. I like always need to be in the pursuit of creating what is going on in here. And I just feel like I'd really lost that. And so I would then like immediately turn my TV on, get stuck on YouTube for hours, maybe go make myself breakfast, come back to bed with a cup of coffee, and just like look at stuff on YouTube of like how to better myself. This actually, I think, is a topic that we can discuss another time where like self betterment content can become very toxic because you intake a bunch of it, but don't actually take the actions. And then when you don't do the actions, you do nothing with all that information and like your life just gets more miserable because you're not actually following. It's like you get some gratification from watching the content, but without actually the follow up and taking action to make a difference or a change in your life, it like leads to this like internal turmoil, and then you're just consuming and anyway, do you know what I'm saying? Like this was my life, okay? I would do this and then maybe by like 4 or 5 p.m. I'd be like, okay, like Patreon really needs some content. I need to go sit at my desk for a few hours. YouTube, like I need to make a podcast. And then I'd be stressed out because I don't like to create when people are home. Like I just need the space. Okay. I've talked about this before. I need the space to get myself ready. I need the space to dance around my apartment and sing la 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 la. I need room to just be without being observed. And by this point, like my husband's going to be home from work soon. I can't just be like, yo, don't come home. Like, so I'm stressed about time now because I've wasted the first half of my day sleeping and watching YouTube all day and not doing anything with the content that I'm consuming. So, anyways, I'd gotten to this place where I just felt like I had no purpose. I was not depressed, but I just felt like I had no drive and no purpose. And when I don't have that, I don't feel right. Like, I know that that's going to happen in my life, probably across my lifetime. There's going to be times where I don't always feel driven. I've already experienced this before. I know what it looks and feels like. But I feel like this time, because I also have the support of therapy, because I also have been processing a lot of past traumas recently, it's helped me to kind of push back on this state of survivor, this like survivor mentality and all these like limiting beliefs of like, it's always going to be this way. I'm always going to struggle with money. I'm always going to be in this tiny apartment. I'm a millennial, so I'm never going to afford a house. Or, there's just, again, there's been a lot of experiences that have kind of drilled these beliefs in. And I haven't sat down and dreamed really big in a long time because mostly I've been afraid of it because I've had a lot of things crash out of my life. And for the first time, I feel like I'm coming back around. And I've kind of had like a manifestation reboot. And I'm like ready to sit down and dream again. So, at the bottom, let's get into the step by step practical tips that I think are just immaculate. Okay. First and foremost, from bed, okay? From the bed rotting position, you're going to watch some inspiring content. But the thing is, you're not allowed to just watch content over and over and over again for days on end and do nothing about it. If you're going to watch the inspiring content, you have to commit to taking an action. So if you're like, today I want to focus on manifest law of assumption, you that day need to do something that will get you into a state of using law of assumption. If you don't know what law of assumption is, go look it up. I'm not going to cover it because we're talking mainly about manifesting, which law of assumption does fall under, but that's not really my area of expertise. So, but like you want to get into law of attraction, you have to commit that day to doing something that puts you in alignment with it. Whether it is buying a book and starting to read it, whether it is committing to some of the practices that I'm going to suggest, you have to commit to doing something because this is the thing. You're not going to magically just believe that suddenly you're going to buy a home next year. You're not just going to magically believe that you're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars in the next 2 minutes. You're not going to believe that you're a lottery winner. You will not believe that. Okay. And that's the thing with manifestation is in order to pull things into your life, your big dreams, You have to be willing to get yourself to believe that it is possible and that there is a pathway there for you, even if you don't know what that pathway looks like. And if you cannot believe that, you're like, you're gonna have a hard time, bestie. So we also need to like start slow and slow. We can't just go from I'm a lottery winner if you don't actually believe that you can do that. So starting with some inspiring content, watch some people's success stories, watch some stuff that you feel like this person lives a life that I would like to live. I want to watch some of their stuff. And then you commit to doing something that day that like drills that in a little bit more. Preferably something you can do. Like I said, I think reading is a good thing. I think meditating is a good thing. We're going to get into some more stuff, so I don't want to give too much away. But basically, though, you can do step one from bed. Okay. On your phone, on your iPad, if you got a TV in your bedroom, you can do step one from bed. Step two, a lot of these are optional, but I would recommend trying them all, is from bed. Okay. I want you to punch into the little YouTube machine, write it down, and look at it after this video. Tapping with Brad. Okay. Tapping with Brad is, I can't even say enough good things about this man and his channel. Okay. Tapping with Brad has changed my life on numerous occasions. I have been about to have a panic attack, and this man has talked me off the ledge with his videos. If you don't know about EFT is emotional freedom technique. And basically, you lead yourself through a series of, it's almost like affirmations, but not. I think they're like more believable than regular affirmations. But you tap on pressure points in your body while saying these things out loud to yourself. And Brad leads you through it. And he's got such a gentle energy, such a calm, like, I want this man to be my dad. Okay. He is so awesome and wonderful. And his content is something that I am so incredibly grateful that we have such great free resources available to us. But tapping with Brad, especially if you're somebody that has been through some shit or like wants to work on something really intentionally, he has a video for anything you could possibly think of. For getting your driver's license, if you're like afraid of that, he has videos for coming down from like panic. He has videos for having a great day. I listened to one today that was just like 4 minutes long, that it's called Having an Amazing Day. And I literally was like, yeah, I am going to have an amazing day. And I got into making this video and it was just like boom, 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 boom. And I feel like I'm so in my element doing this video, doing this podcast, that it's the vibe. Okay. Get into it. Get into tapping with Brad. He's amazing. You can do a video in 5 to 10 minutes. And especially if you're somebody that deals with, it's like aphantasia, or I'm sorry, I'm not doing that justice, but it's where you can't imagine things. So like meditating is kind of difficult. I feel like tapping is a really good replacement for that. Okay. The next thing I would encourage you to try is, and I've mentioned this service a bajillion times, it is not sponsored, though it fucking should be with how much publicity I give this. Mimi Beauchard's app, Activations. It used to be called Superhuman. This app I have talked about numerous times. It is one of my favorite tools for manifesting, for getting right with myself. Anytime that I have used this app for even like 2 weeks, my life has changed for the better. And I have used it especially in times of difficulty. I have used it like when I've gone through friendship breakups, and it has completely given me my self-esteem back in that moment. I have used it to like work on my fitness goals. I have used it countless times. I have used this. Worth it every time. 12 out of 10. Okay. It's called Activations. It is a paid service. You get, I think, the first 2 weeks free, so you can just try it. Something I want to also add, her book, which is called Activate Your Future Self, which shameless self promo on Patreon in January for our book club. We're going to be reading her book for the month of January. So if you want to be part of that, I would encourage you to check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Chloe Taylor. This month we've been reading ACOTAR. far, and my video for that is almost finished. So I'm very excited to share that with you. But yeah, we've been reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and we're going to be in December reading the sequel to A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury. And then January, because it's like the new year, we're going to be reading Activations by Mimi Beauchard. The reason I'm bringing this up though is A, join my Patreon so you can be part of the book club. And B, if you buy her book, again, not sponsored, just love it. If you buy her book, I think it goes on sale all the time for like $9. In her book, there is a code for 3 months free of her app activations. And that app is like $30 a month. So just buying the $10 book and getting $90 worth of her app, totally worth it in my opinion. So even if you don't read the book, get the book so that you for $10 get 3 months of the app. Totally, totally, totally worth it. She is just, all of her work really inspires me. I'm very inspired by Mimi Beauchard. She is somebody that I have turned to again and again and again in my life, and has kind of directed me in getting myself back on track to being my best self. So you're going to look up the Activations app and do an activation. You can get the first 2 weeks free. And after that, you can buy her book for $10 and get 3 months. So I'll link that below, the book. I don't know if I have a link for the app. I wish I had an affiliate link because I talk about it all the time. But it's a great resource for getting, because you can do these things once again from bed. Or she has like walking activations. She has writing. They're like meditations, but not. It's hard to explain if you haven't done it. She does ones where you like write things out as well. And she gives you like writing prompts, and it's so helpful. I have been helped by numerous of her, she calls them activations. So 12 out of 10. Okay, the next thing, this is also something you can do from bed. I give you all these options because, like I said, I was a bed rotting queen and it was not good for my mental health. So I'm giving you the options that you can do from bed, and then we'll talk a little bit about some other things. But the next thing, do not discount the power of subliminals. Subliminals, you do want to be careful with where you're getting them from, because some people just make some weird shit. And they're out there just trying to mess with the collective unconscious. So like, make sure you're really vetting the subliminals you're listening to. Like, look at the comments, look at how many people have viewed it. You can get them for free on YouTube, but basically a subliminal is just a track that usually has layers of audio put into it that has affirmations in it that you can't hear them. You just hear like the music and like rain sounds and stuff that they put into it. But that's why it's called a subliminal. And we know scientifically that subliminals do work. Okay. We know that they work. I can tell you personally from working with subliminals, I haven't used them a ton, but the times that I have, they work extremely well for me. I am a very audio sensitive person though, so I think that might be why it works so well for me. Maybe it works for everybody and I'm not special. I don't know. But I've listened to weight loss subliminals and seen that work extremely well. I've listened to financial subliminals and seen that work really well. In fact, I don't know why I ever go off my subliminal game, because they work really well. And it's just like, I bought myself a pair of wired headphones, and I'll just put my headphones in at bedtime. And then like eventually they fall out of my ears and I don't lose my headphones in the bed because they're wired. But I also like don't like all that Bluetooth around my head when I'm sleeping. I know I'm al dente, remember? Okay, we're not a crunchy granola. We're al dente in this house. We're a little bit crunchy. I don't like all that Bluetooth around my head. So I do the wired headphones at night. And I think it's better so you don't lose the headphones in the bed. But yeah, I'll listen to a subliminal at night sometimes, or just put it on while I'm doing something else and just like have it playing. And I think it's the best when you fall asleep listening to it, because that can penetrate the unconscious mind better. And every time I have gone to bed with a subliminal, I feel like I wake up in like the best mood, depending on what it is that I'm trying to activate. And like recently I'd been trying weight loss subliminals again, if I could be so candid. And I woke up with just an insatiable, like, I got to get my walking pad set up again. I got to go wash all my workout clothes and put those at the front of my closet. And like, it didn't feel like a chore. I was just like, oh, I want to do that. I want to make sure that I like charged my Apple Watch, sent a challenge to all my friends, and I felt like it was effortless. It didn't feel like a struggle. And that was from one night of listening to, it was a weight loss overnight subliminal. And it's not just about like, oh, I'm losing weight. It's like, releasing the trauma of holding the weight and what that's for. That's like what this subliminal does. It was also about like nourishing yourself, getting into a healthy state of mind and body. Like, it's not just like this person putting stuff in the track that's like, I lose weight right now. It's like stuff that actually would help you. If you did these practices in your day to day, you would like lose weight or have a healthier physique or whatever. It's something I'm really insecure about. If I again could be so honest, it's something I'm really insecure about, and I would like it's something that plagues me on a day to day. And it's something I feel like I've never really been able to get a full handle on. And anytime I try things like this, I do feel like I see some success and then I don't know why I stop. So that's something for therapy. Anyways, subliminals, affirmation tracks are also great. Those are also on the activations app, but try a subliminal, see how you feel about that. Okay, the next thing, I think this is something that you could do it from bed, but I don't encourage that. Shadow work and or therapy. I obviously know that not everybody has access to therapy. I myself have been in that boat. I know what it feels like when you are uninsured and you need mental health professionals very badly. I know exactly what that feels like. This is why I made it a twofer and I said therapy and shadow work, because though I do not think everybody should be therapizing themselves, I think that's actually very bad. If you can go to therapy, go to therapy, please, bestie. If you can go to therapy, if you're insured, if you can get into seeing somebody, if you really need to work through some stuff so you can get out of that state of survival, please do that for yourself. If you are somebody that unfortunately is not able to do that, I've been there. Um, this is where shadow work comes in. And shadow work, I feel like, is something that there are so many other videos online about shadow work. I'm not going to give you the crash course on it today, but shadow work to me is all about getting in touch with the things that, especially when you are triggered and you reach for something else to get out of the trigger that isn't processing the emotion. So this can look like you're feeling really hurt and upset by somebody in your life and you reach for an alcoholic beverage. This can look like every time you're a little on edge, you go reach for a cigarette. This can look like every time you're feeling some type of way, you go to bed and turn the TV on and watch Netflix instead of feeling your feelings. Shadow work to me is about getting in touch with your feelings and allowing yourself to feel them fully so that you can process them and move on. And shadow work is something that we revisit again and again. Sometimes we need to deal with the same issue over and over and over again. Not forever. I do believe we are all capable of healing, but sometimes it takes more than just doing it once. In fact, I would say most of the time it's more than doing it just once. You don't just do shadow work and then it's over. It really is kind of a lifelong process. But notice the ways in which you abandon yourself in order to not feel how you feel. You got to do your shadow work, okay? If you're feeling like boo, you got to do the shadow work around where that's coming from. And I think one of the best places to start with shadow work is to notice what you do when you're triggered and to be able to identify a trigger. And then ask yourself, what am I actually feeling in this moment? And what am I refusing to feel? What am I trying to numb out? My next point, I do feel like can be a little bit more difficult depending on the kind of person you are, but you've got to surround yourself with supportive people. I cannot stress this enough. And it's not because, oh, if my friend jumps off a bridge, I'm going to jump off a bridge. If my friend smokes, I'm going to smoke. It's not that. It's that you may not pick up the exact same habits, but you will pick up on their phrasing, how they speak about life, their mannerisms. You will pick up on these like micro things that eventually do start to alter you. The people around you do alter you. And I know that everybody wants to believe that we are not influenceable, but you are. You are not special. Like everybody on the face of this planet is influenceable. And I myself am extremely influenceable, and I know this about myself. And it is why I am such a stickler about friendships. Not only am I a stickler about friendships, when I introduce somebody new into my life, I also look at the quality of the people that they spend their time with. And if I'm like, you have some really questionable friends, I don't know if I like that, because I think the company you keep also matters. And I'm just very, very, very cautious about that. I have been through too many friendship breakups and too many situations where I would self abandon because hi, my name's Chloe. I deal with anxious attachment. There were too many relationships that I have had where I would abandon myself because I was so afraid that I would be abandoned by that person. And when it got down to the bottom of it and like sifting through it and really understanding myself, doing the shadow work, going to therapy, all of that, when I got down to the bottom of it and was like, why do I even keep, this person or that person in my life? I realized it was anxious attachment, and I was keeping people in my life that didn't actually, like, we had nothing in common. We had nothing in common. Nothing about how we were living our lives was going in the same direction. We had different beliefs across the board about things. I do think that, like, with many of the friendships that I have lost over the years, there was a lot of crossover in, like, I think our values, a lot of our core values were the same, which were good, but a lot of our like day-to-day beliefs about life or how we treated situations just like was not the same. And though I don't think we need an echo chamber, I do think that when you're already in a low place and you're trying to get better and you're like trying to express that and get there, and you have people that are just bringing you down 7 pegs, like, you got to start putting some space. Okay. You got to start putting some space. It's not about deleting every person from your life, but take it from somebody that takes their friendships very seriously, because I know that I am sensitive to when I take new people into my life. I am somebody that, not to toot my own horn, but I am an extremely loyal friend. I know I have value in myself, and I know that I am a good friend. I know that. I don't need to prove it to somebody else. I know that. I would say in my life, when we talk about values, friendship is my highest value. And it didn't used to be. It used to be freedom. And then also stability is pretty high up there for me. But I would say my highest value in life is friendship. And because of that, I know that I'm a really good friend. I know that I'm a really good friend. And because I know that I am like a ride or die for the people that I keep closest to me, I don't have a lot of close friends because I don't want to be giving all that juicy energy away either, because the wrong people, they lap it the fuck up, okay? And they bleed you dry. And I've been through too many situations where it was both of our faults every time. I can take accountability. Every time it was both of our faults. I'm not saying I'm a saint. I'm not saying I'm always the best person. I make mistakes too. I've been a shitty friend before, but I think that I know, because of the kind of person I am, I personally cannot keep unsupportive people around me. I can't. I can't, like, when I'm already like feeling some type of way, and it's not like if my homie has a bad day or a bad month or a bad year, I'm like, "Oh, you're canceled, we're out." It's not like that. Um, but I feel like, be there to support the homie when you got a man down, you got to be there. But I feel like when you're in the tender stages of starting to believe in yourself again, you need people around you that also believe in you. And like, you don't want to be friends with people who don't believe in you anyways. That's really the point I'm trying to make. And so I don't mean write everybody off in your life. I do mean, though, where you are spending your time socializing, really pay attention. And stop calling that person so much if they always make you feel bad. Okay. It is going to suck in the beginning. They are going to get weird with you in the beginning because they're used to always having your attention, but eventually they'll quit calling. Okay. I did this with like half of my family members, and eventually they quit calling. Eventually they quit calling. Eventually they leave you alone. And eventually you have peace in that. You find peace in that because you're building your life on your own terms and believing in yourself again. So the next thing is, and this one is also really important, I talk about it a lot on this podcast, and that is committing to small promises that build self-trust. So A lot of the time, when we don't believe that goodness can befall us, that we can have our dreams actualized, that we're allowed to want for more or feel worthy of more, the reason we don't feel it could be because we've been conditioned not to from numerous experiences, right? From having things ripped away from us, from family members or parents or friends that have made us feel some type of way, no matter what it is that you desire. A lot of times the reason we don't feel worthy is because we haven't built rapport back with ourselves. And you have to start committing to building small promises with yourself so you can build rapport with yourself again. Because if every day you say, I'm going to go for a walk today, and then you don't ever go for the walk, there is a small little child that lives inside of you that was excited about that walk and goes, but you said we would go on the walk. But you said you would start taking care of us. But you said you would drink the water. But you said we would leave the house and go do this today. But you said we would get out of bed and wake up in the morning and do blank. But you said we would start working on that YouTube channel. But you said we would, whatever it is. You said we would start making friends. You said we would, I can't think of everything, but you have to start making promises to yourself and keeping them so that you start to build trust with that part of yourself. And I cannot express it hard enough that when you lose this part of yourself, which I have before, it wasn't lost. It was just like really, really, really damaged. It takes a long time to build that trust with yourself back. It's better if you have just never lost it, okay? And this is how you build it by saying, tomorrow I'm going to drink 40 ounces of water. You fill up that 40 shorty before you go to bed, put it next to your bedside, finish it. Do it. And you don't even have to go that hard. You could say a glass of water, it depends on where you're at in life. But keeping those promises to yourself is just so unbelievably vital. Some of the promises I've been keeping to myself lately that have really made a difference are, I talked about it last week, doing my hair. I've been doing my hair twice a week, every single week for the last 2 or 3 weeks now. And it has done such good things for my self-confidence. I cannot recommend this enough. And yeah, it is a chore. Sometimes I don't want to do it, but I remind myself that I said I would do it. Every 3 to 4 days it gets done. And I never regret it. I mean, are you kidding? Look at how, if you're watching the video, look at how fabulous my hair looks today. This is second day hair. All I did was take it out of its overnight blowout rods, and this is the vibe. It is a vibe. I'm here for it. But doing my hair, that is a small promise that I keep to myself. And taking my vitamins. Taking my vitamins every single day is a small promise that I keep to myself every day. And the last thing on the list is gratitude at the end of the day. I know a lot of people would tell you to have gratitude at the top of your day to start your day in some kind of positive way, but I find at the end of the day, it's also kind of fun to do it with someone else. At the end of the day, I always turn to my husband when we're going to bed and I ask him, what was the best part of your day? And it's really fun to get to hear what his thing was. And then he'll ask me or vice versa. And it's so nice to share in that joy at the end of the night and express a little gratitude for each other or for your day. I will usually continue from that point and I will either journal a few more points before I go to sleep, or I will just lay in bed with my subliminals and think about it for a little bit and usually just go to sleep. But gratitude at the end of the day, because it puts you sometimes at the top of the day, it's just you're too tired. You don't really know what you're feeling grateful for. It's not the vibe. But at the end of the day, I feel like you've lived a full day and it's easier to look back and go I'm really grateful for my running water and that I got to take that hot shower today. I was so sweaty and I did all this stuff, but damn, it's nice to have that hot, fresh water. Or maybe you took yourself out on a little self-care date and you're really grateful to yourself that day, or you're grateful to the barista who made your coffee, or maybe your spouse made you coffee that day and you're really grateful that they got up and handled that so it'd be ready and hot for you when you woke up. Whatever it is. But gratitude at the end of the day, I think, is just such a sweet way to drift off into that state of dreaming. And I hope this was helpful. This is everything that I've been doing to get back to myself, to believing in my dreams, and actually letting myself believe in manifestation again, and knowing that I am I feel so funny saying it, but I don't know why. Like I want to own this shit with conviction. But like I am the operant power. You are the operant power. You are the operator. You are the person that gets to pull the experiences into your life. And again, it's not just woo. The shit is built in science. We know that it works. And I have some success stories. Like I said, if you want another episode where I talk about that, let me know down below. Leave me a comment. Tell me that that's something you'd like to hear. I do feel like I've been off my manifestation game for a really long time. And I would love to like speak on that more and also maybe get into talking more about like an actual routine because you're never not manifesting. Like it's always turned on. Like you don't like through your thoughts, your actions, your words, everything you're doing is pulling something into your life, right? Whether that's for good or for bad is ultimately up to you. But I feel like sometimes when we get really intentional, it starts to change our actions, our emotions, our thoughts. And because it will help us to change that, this is why like these practices sometimes are so important because it can actually help us when we're stuck in this state of fight or flight, survival, believing that we don't deserve it, that we're unworthy. It is these practices and these things that interrupt those patterns and force us to create new patterns, new thoughts, new emotions, pulling in new things. So, anyways, that's all I have to say on that today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would like more from me, I would love if you would follow me over on Patreon. There is new content every single month. This month we have the book club. We're reading Akatar. You're not behind if you want to jump on that with us. I put a reading vlog out at the end of the month and it goes live and you can like interact with the chat while that's airing. Then we also have tarot and astrology stuff every single month, a vlog every single month now, and sometimes I throw in some sneaky like extra astrology videos or just like extra like sometimes I'll do a random master class or a random live or it's just where I put everything else that isn't just this podcast. So definitely give it a look. And if you would like to follow me, I do have an Instagram. I don't really do social media right now, but I do have an Instagram if you would like to follow me somewhere else. I'm at Chloe Taylor. And thank you so much to all of my patrons for supporting the making of this show. I appreciate and love you so much. I will talk to all of you again next Sunday. Get out there and manifest. And also, like, tell me what you're manifesting because I am now working on constructing that in my life right now. Like, what do I really want next? What can I get myself to believe and be in alignment with? I want to hear what you're thinking. So leave me that down below. Leave me the little, my friend calls them the manifesting stars, the little sparkle emoji. Leave me some of that down below too, the manifesting stars, if you're ready to get back into it. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all next time. Please do not forget when you stand on your own authenticity, you empower everyone around you to do the same. Bye.